The horrors unfolding in West Asia continue to make headlines. It is nearing a month since the war broke out between the Hamas militants and Israel. And as Israel continues its crackdown on the militant group through air and ground assaults, the country's defense forces have said that the head of Hamas's special security, Jamal Musa, has been killed in an Israeli midnight attack. The Israeli security forces have also arrested 23 people in East Jerusalem. They are accused of violence and incitement. Meanwhile, Jordan's King Abdullah said in a post on X that at midnight, Jordan's Air Force personnel airdropped urgent medical aid to the Jordanian Field Hospital in Gaza. The heads of 11 United Nations agencies and 6 humanitarian organizations have jointly appealed for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza, the protection of civilians and the swift delivery of food, water, medicine and fuel to the region. The call for ceasefire comes at a time when Israel continues pounding Gaza with significant strikes. According to the country's defense forces, its troops have encircled Gaza City, cutting the region into 2 parts, a South and a North Gaza.
היום, כוחות צה"ל, בהובלת סיירת גולני, כיתרו את העיר עזה. הם הגיעו עד לחוף הים, בחלק הדרומי של העיר עזה, והם כיתרו את העיר עזה, ובעצם היום יש עזה צפון ועזה דרום.
The Israeli army has also said its forces had struck over 2,500 terror targets since ground troops entered the Palestinian territory late last month. Now, the Israeli army has also said it has opened a humanitarian corridor to allow civilians in northern Gaza to evacuate south. While Israel continues to make advances through its ground assaults, Gaza was struck by fresh explosions on Sunday. The blasts and flares were seen in Gaza from southern Israel. Shortly before the strikes, internet and telephone lines were cut, and the strikes continued overnight. According to health officials in Hamas-controlled Gaza, more than 9,700 people have been killed in the region, including 4,800 children. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, several rockets were flying directly over the city. The rockets were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. While in south of Lebanon, 4 civilians, 3 of them children, were killed by an Israeli airstrike on Sunday evening, raising the likelihood of a dangerous new escalation in the conflict on the Lebanon-Israel border.
العملية اليوم اللي صارت هي عملية إجرامية، عملية إرهابية. 3 أطفال أنا شفتهم، أنا حملتهم بإيدي. 3 أطفال احترقوا بالسيارة وما في حدا ينقذهم، وأمهم أنا شلتها وهي عم بتصرخ وتقول أولادي وين هو؟ وين هن الإرهابية؟ أنتوا الإرهابية يا إسرائيلية، وأنتوا الإرهابية يلي عم يدعموكم، وأمريكا هي راس الإرهاب وهي أم الإرهاب.
Amid spiraling tensions over Israel's war with Hamas, America's top diplomat is on a Middle East tour focused on humanitarian aid for the Palestinians. Now, hours after an unannounced stop in Iraq, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Turkey in the early hours of Monday to hold a key diplomatic meeting. Turkey happens to be his last stop in the region before heading to Asia. In Turkey, Blinken met with his Turkish counterpart, Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, for talks on the Gaza conflict. Moreover, Blinken, who has been urged by West Asian leaders to persuade Israel to agree to a ceasefire, Israel has rejected the growing calls for a ceasefire in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu demanded that all of the more than 240 hostages captured by Hamas militants should be returned.
Today marks 30 days of holding of a 9-month-old baby hostage, Kfir Bivas. My young boy just turned a year a couple of days ago. We're going to defeat Hamas. We're going to free our hostages, 240. Some of them are from all over around the world. We're going to free our hostages. It's a top priority.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared to backtrack on a comment that he was reported to have made earlier. The comment was about the need to check if a pre-war protest among army reservists pushed Hamas militants to carry out its attack last month. But after public backlash, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu posted on X, and I quote him, "Hamas started a war because it wants to kill us all, and not because of any argument within us."
Check it.